Hi, today I want to talk to you about something big, a disaster that everyone is watching unfold, but no one knows how it happened. I'm attachment specialist Adam Lane Smith, and I want to talk to you about the Depp and Heard allegations that are going on. Now, we've all heard, play on words, and we've seen the allegations. We've probably seen the memes. We've heard the jokes. We've heard the disturbing charges that are coming out of it, things being said on both sides. Some people struggle with who to believe. Some people know who they believe. A lot of people are asking, how does this even happen? How do you get in a situation this extreme? What are these Hollywood people thinking? And I'm with you on that to some extent. But I want you to know it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen overnight. Because a lot of people are also saying, what if this happens to me? If this could happen to them, what if this happens to me? How do I make sure I stay strong? How do I stay away from this? If you're like me, you want to make sure that you avoid other people's mistakes. I'm here to help you do that. As an attachment specialist, my job is to show you the red flags and where to avoid them and kind of analyze what went wrong other places so we can learn that. So thank you for coming with me today. Let's jump right into this. First of all, how does this happen? Well, it doesn't just creep up on you. A couple doesn't just get together, everything's happy, wonderful, and one day the other one just punches the other person out and then poops on their bed. That doesn't just happen. It doesn't just randomly happen. You don't just go along as a happy, wonderful couple with no red flags, and all of a sudden one day you end up in court. That's just not the way that game goes. You know that, and I know that. But where are those red flags? What do we do about them? That's probably what you're wondering. The biggest red flag is watching how somebody treats other people. And I don't mean good or bad. I mean, does the person you're thinking about, does a person in your life, your romantic partner, your friends, whoever you're getting to know, does that person treat other people like people? Or does that person treat other people like objects? Now, that's a weird statement, and I hear you out. The extreme cases of this would be like a sociopath. Somebody who has what we would call antisocial personality disorder is classic of this. Antisocial personality disorder is a total disrespect for the rights of other human beings. It's called antisocial not because they stay away from people, but because they are against the society. They are against rules. They are against agreements. They are against expectations. They are against other people, and they act upon other people, and they'll even hurt the other people for their own benefit. It doesn't matter to them. They are only moving objects. They are treating other people like objects and moving them. This is the case in a lot of violence, a lot of domestic abuse, a lot of rape cases, things like this. The perpetrator doesn't feel bad about what they did because they were only acting upon objects. That's the extreme case. Some really good-hearted people do this too. Insecurity is a fear that there's something wrong with you deep down that other people will see if you open up and let people see who you are. So you have to block off your heart and not show people who you are. And then you have to be really nice and earn their approval. And all you're doing is playing games. You're pushing buttons to try to get outcomes and make people not hate you and make people kind of like you and then earn their approval and earn their gratitude so they'll do things for you. That's not interacting one-on-one as people. And I hope you get the difference. Some people don't. If that's not, okay, we'll talk about that. What's the difference with treating a person like a person instead of moving an object and pushing buttons? Treating someone like a person is going to them and saying, hey, here's what's going on for me. What can we do as a team to kind of address this? What's your side of it? Let's talk about it. Let's figure this out. Let's get through this. Might sound kind of crazy. Have you ever experienced that? Most people haven't. Most people don't know what that looks like. That is the healthy norm. That's what you want to look for. You want to look for somebody, if you want to avoid getting punched and having your bed pooped on, look for somebody who treats other people with that kind of respect, that goes to them and uses we language. Hey, here's what's going on for me. What can we do together to resolve this? Is there something on your side? Can we work on something on your side too? Am I the only one kind of struggling here? Are you struggling? How can we come to a mutual agreement? People who work on people like objects don't worry about mutual fulfillment. Sociopaths worry about their fulfillment, and insecure people worry about the other person's fulfillment. And there's no cross between. There's no open discussion. There's no, hey, here's what's going on both sides. And then you get cases where the anger starts to boil up because you're treating people like objects. Other people don't know what to expect. When you get mad, you punish that object and say, hey, get back in line. You're not supposed to be doing that. If you get power and control over that person, if you perceive, for example, that nobody will trust that person about domestic abuse allegations and say, no one will ever believe you that this happened. Go ahead, tell people. You're putting an object back in line. You're not mistreating a human being. You're telling an object, get back in line, object. Stop acting on your own. Only act the way I tell you to act. When they hit an object, it's just making that object stop moving. These are objects that can move. They're living objects, but they don't have a will of their own. They're not supposed to. Insecure people panic when an object has a will of its own. Domineering and controlling people with personality disorders, especially some of the really severe ones, they get angry and frustrated. They get fearful because now an object is coming at them, but then they get angry. They take control. They have power, so they're going to force that object to do what it does and do what they want. Even escalating up to something extreme like, look, object, look what I can do to you. I will poop on your bed. I keep going back to that. You're probably just as disturbed as I am. I think about that sometimes. I hear about it and I say, man, I don't want to think about that. But that's the extreme. Look what I can do to you, object. Get back in line and do what I tell you to do. That's where that comes from. And again, it's not humans. People look at this and say, how could one person treat another person this way? One person is not treating another person this way. Not in the internal game. The internal game says, I am moving objects. I'm pushing objects around. I'm making objects do what I want. The objects are not doing what I want. Therefore, the objects are bad objects. I need to punish them and discipline them so that they will do what I want. So in your life, you're probably saying, oh no, how do I know when someone is doing this? Well, the lighter side with insecurity, if someone's bottling their feelings up all the time, they don't ask for their needs to get met. They don't ask you calmly for things to do. If they do, they layer on 50 pieces of guilt and say, oh man, I'm so sorry. I should never have asked you to drive me down the street or whatever it might be. I'm a horrible human being for having needs. They bottle it up. They keep things secret. They keep things quiet. They're perfectionists. They have to get everything perfect or everything will fall apart. They have low self-esteem. They think that they are worthless. They're constantly trying to earn approval from other people. That's the insecure, not as violent side, but it's still dangerous. It's still dangerous. And we'll talk about why in just a moment. I'm sure you probably are sensing why already. The other side, the extreme side, with attachment, what we would call, the first one's the anxious attachment style. The other side is what we would call the avoidant attachment style, the controlling that can grow, not always, but can grow into personality disorders, punching people, hitting people, abusing your partner. That looks more like people who slide in and become argumentative all the time. Everything becomes a fight. Everything that an object tries to do on its own becomes a fight because the object is not acting right. And everything the object does that's not perfect is also a fight because now the person has to bludgeon the object back into line. That person is controlling. It's them versus everyone else. And a lot of their stories are victim stories about how everyone else has been mean to them and they did nothing wrong, but all these stupid objects just couldn't do what they were supposed to do. They play the victim. They get up and when they have to testify about their case, they start fake crying and saying, oh, it's it. And they are acting on the audience like objects too. They're manipulating. Manipulation, that's the difference between manipulation and persuasion. Persuasion is working with another person to win them over and convince them of a mutually fulfilling arrangement. Manipulation is working on an object to exploit it to get your own satisfaction in some way. In some way. Even if it's to make that object happy so that they do kind things for you or just so that they like you or don't hate you. It is still manipulation, both sides. Violent manipulation and secretive manipulation. So it boils down to interacting with people as objects. Are you interacting with objects? Is the person you know interacting with people as objects? Are they bludgeoning someone like an object? Are they screaming at someone like an object, even like a living object, like a bad dog? Are they screaming at their partner like a bad dog and punishing him and whacking him with a newspaper? That's, to them, that's what they're doing. They're not mistreating a human being. They're disciplining an object. Now, why is all this a problem? I mean, Most of us are not going to get punched in the face, have things shattered, have things screamed. We're not going to get put up in a big celebrity trial and have every sexual experience we've ever said or every unfulfilling thing or whatever it is blown out. Most of us won't face that. But in our personal lives, you've probably experienced times where someone treated you like an object. It hurt. Maybe the relationship fell apart. The person didn't stop and ask you. They didn't ask your opinion. They start acting upon you without even getting clarification. They said, you did this, this is what I think you're doing, so I'm going to do this to you. And you try to get them to stop and say, no, let's talk about this, let's work it through, and it's too late. They've already made their decision. Choices get made. Issues come up. Issues will always come up. There will always be problems. And if you are acting upon each other, or if someone's acting upon you as an object, there's no chance to grow together. When you work, what do I say? When you interact with people as people, you grow together because you respect each other. You build mutual fulfillment. You release vasopressin from bonding and solving problems. You release oxytocin from hearing good things connected with each other and feeling those warm feelings with each other. You release serotonin, dopamine, all these chemicals that just flood and make you like the other person, to make you like each other. And then you grow together. This is how marriages grow together and stay together lifelong, is by treating each other like people. The marriages that split up, divorces happen because people treat each other like objects and act upon each other like objects. It's instead of a team, it is two individuals saying, well, you have those problems, these are my problems, stay away, let me treat my problems, don't ever ask me about them, and I don't want to bother with yours. Or I'll help you with yours so that you're grateful to me and never leave me. It's finding people with lots of problems and helping them, hoping to earn their gratitude and their approval. This is how a lot of people end up in toxic relationships, is trying to rescue someone else because they believe they themselves are worthless and they can only earn approval by good works. It's perfectionism, and it's building intimidation in, it's building control in, it's building self-validation instead of team building in. It's acting upon people as objects instead of acting upon people as people. The core of this is distrust. The core of all of this is distrust, because you act upon other people as objects when you yourself grow up believing that nobody will ever love you for what's going on deep down on the inside, because you don't receive love from both of your parents, and recognize what healthy love is. That healthy love is supposed to be a giving and receiving, a circle of healthy reciprocal care for both sides, mutual fulfillment. Your parents don't teach you that, so you grow up believing something's wrong with you and or wrong with everybody else, so you need to control. You need to control yourself through anxiety or control others through distance and discipline. That's really what that boils down to. So the focus is there's no trust. There's no trust. You cannot trust other people, so you must relate to them as objects that must be moved. You can't let them in close enough to connect with them one-on-one like people. So if you are wanting to avoid this, I hope you are. No, I hope you are. Some people get stuck in that toxic pattern because it's all they know. It's all they know. And they think everyone's like that. There's a lot of online communities that say everyone's like this. The other side is just like this, so mistreat them all you want. You don't have to get better. And that gives rise to that victim culture of I can do and say no wrong because I am X or I am Z. And that means I'm automatically the victim. Go ahead, tell everybody you've been abused. Nobody will believe you. Things like that. It can give rise to, I'm just going to mistreat people as I wish and just hurt their feelings. Maybe not illegally, but hurt their feelings and leave just waves of injured people and wounded people as I go who won't know why I mistreated them that way. And I got my own satisfaction out of it, kind of. Look for the opposite. Look for openness. Openness. That ability to come to you first instead of making knee-jerk decisions every time. Everyone has one or two knee-jerk decisions they get wrong once in a while. But do they apologize for that and say, you know what? No, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have jumped like that. Then they come to you next time and say, hey, let's work this out. Hey, what's this? Can I get your feedback on this? Where are you at for this? Here's what I'm perceiving. Is this accurate? And they work with you. They say, what can we do together? Hey, I want to work on our relationship and keep it good. If someone came to you and said this, I bet you'd be pretty happy. Maybe you've gone to other people and said this. Maybe you're looking for more people like this. Maybe you're watching this right now and saying, oh, thank God my spouse isn't like that. My spouse is loving and caring and talks to me like a team. Great. That right there is one of the biggest indicators that marriage will stay intact as long as you're able to work as a team and work with each other as people. That's really what it takes. You can solve just about anything as long as you are willing to come together as people and talk it through and work as a team to resolve it mutually, mutual fulfillment. It's when you break down and it's objects and it's controlling the other person like an object and moving them. Even if you're making them happy, you're still moving them like an object. That's what happens in these big celebrity cases. It's the extreme versions. They have so much money and so much wealth, they can do more extreme versions that most of us don't have the resources to get away with. But there's plenty of people in this world doing the crazy things that are on trial for. There's plenty of people out there right now that there's not news stories about that are worse, way worse, way worse. I hope through all of this, what I hope you'll take from this is that people don't just go crazy. People don't just go from perfect to absolutely nightmare. Yes, the people who are the extreme cases, yes, they do start off very charming because they have to. And that bonds the other person and confuses the other person and gaslights the other person for a while, because then when they change, they say, what happened? What did you do that I changed? What did I do that you changed? What happened? And that's the case. But there's not the openness. There's not stating goals from the very beginning, saying, these are my goals. This is what I want. They don't have an internal sense of right and wrong. It's external, like, well, this would be this, and someone would say this. And they don't demonstrate that. People can say words. Words are cheap. But the actions, do they operate from an internal sense of right and wrong? Or they do what they can, are they doing what they can get away with? Are they vengeful when it's okay to be vengeful? Is the only thing holding them back the societal expectation of not being vengeful in that moment because they'll look bad? Do they ask for things calmly and right away? Hey, here's what I need. Could you do this for me, please? This would be great. This would be really great. Are they operating like human beings, coming to you as a mature human being? Or are they treating you like an object and trying to manipulate you, trying to do nice things so you'll figure out what they want and do nice things back for them? And on the line, when you don't figure out what it is, they'll eventually get resentful, punch you, poop on your bed, all that good stuff, drag you in court. Look for the goodness, the openness, the caring, the nurturing. Look to be treated as a human being, treated as a person, treated as a member of a team who isn't locked away and kept out and can't have conversations with that person. If the person's pretty open in a good way, not like, here's everything that's ever happened to me in my life on the moment you meet them, but hey, yeah, here's some things about me. What do you want to know? I'm a pretty open book. Ask me questions and I'll let you know. I don't hold things back. That tells you a lot. And then do they do that? Do they follow through on that? If that's what you want, keep in mind, just keep in mind, objects versus people. Does this person treat people like objects, or does this person treat people like people and engage with them like people? That's the biggest piece. So if you don't want to end up in a celebrity domestic violence situation, in court, cameras pointed at your face, asking you about every tiny scrap of your life, this is what you got to do. Connect with people who connect with people. Don't connect with people who move objects. It's really that simple. Thank you for watching. I'm Adam Lane Smith. If this has been helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, help grow the channel. I'm hoping to hit 10,000 subscribers, hoping to hit 100,000 subscribers, but hey, we'll get there. We'll get there. I hope this has been helpful, because I see a lot of people see this trial and they say, oh man. First of all, they're horrified, like we are. They're horrified. And then they say, what if that happens to me? And the thought, that's normal. Like, we don't see the buildup in the relationship. We don't see how it started. We don't see all the red flags that probably got missed. We don't see maybe red flags on both sides. We don't see maybe insecurity on both sides. We don't see maybe saying, hey, you know what, this is the best I can get. Or we don't see people making concessions saying, well, I don't understand what's going on, but maybe it'll turn around. We don't see that because we're not there. I'm not there. I can't diagnose anyone with anything and say anyone has one thing or has another. What we can do is figure out these red flags in our lives and apply them in our lives. Yeah, it's fun to watch the trials. It's sad to watch the trials too. But you can keep yourself safe. You can stay safe from all of this. You can keep yourself protected, and you can live such a better life. And I want that for you. That's why I do what I do. That's why I teach about attachment. I want you to be able to have a better life than you have now. And if you have a great life and you're surrounded by people who treat people like people, treasure them. Treasure them, because that's worth all the gold in the world.